Hey, this is Tony Ross for TonyTeach.com, and welcome to our Google Hangout. And this is going to be working with bitmaps and textures in Toon Boom Harmony. Pretty much what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to redo a tutorial I did several years ago in Toon Boom Animate, but I'm going to do pretty much work on this little fish here, and we're going to add a texture to its skin by some scanned in rice paper, which I thought was a kind of a cool effect. So I've got this sketch here, which is done by my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Cartledge, who's also on the line. And Chris, you can probably, if you ever have any questions or comments, feel free to chime in.
Okay.
Alrighty. So where's Mr. Fish sketch? Yes, he's on his own layer. I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer. Pretty much I'm going to draw this fish out, and he's going to be a cutout character. So the first thing I want to start doing is make sure I have a decent brush here. Now, I'm old school, kind of old school. I think whenever I'm working on a drawing, I like to work with the brush versus working with a pencil. Let's see if we can get a decent one here. I want to get a nice thick and thin action going. Hold that thought. I'm going to quit out of one of my programs because my brushes are running very slow right now. Let's see if I can speed those back up. In case you don't know, if you actually hold down your O key in Toon Boom Harmony, you can click and drag, and this is when you have your brush, pencil, or even some of your shape tools. You can click and drag and change the size of it automatically. All right, so I'm going to change the shape of this a little bit, get a little more thick and thin going. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Just kind of trace over this. I'm just going to do each little part here on its own layer. Not sure why my thick and thin's not working. That's weird. All right, that's very weird. Fun times. I'm going to check my brush settings here. All right, so there's the body, and I'll go ahead and change my layer name.
Hey, Tony, are you using the Cintiq or an Intuos for your work?
I am using the Intuos, actually. A Wacom Intuos 5 medium.
Okay.
Is that your question or somebody else's question?
That's Mr. Gutman asked that.
Ah, okay. Yes, I am using my Wacom Intuos. Okay, so let's get another layer here. By the way, I do not know all the official names of fish fins and some junk. So I'm just going to be calling these back fin, add, top fin, add, bottom fin. And let's see, I think we're going to have, I think I'll also do the gills. Don't know if we have time enough to really animate this guy that much, but I at least want to have it set up to animate. All right, so go ahead and close this. So I've got all my different layers here. And whenever you're working on a cutout character, anything that you want to move, you're going to want to have it on its own layer. So back fin. Okay, there's my thick and thin. That's better. And pretty much the style I like to work in leaves large gaps in my work. I think it has a nice pen and ink feel to it. I'm going to hold down my Command and Option keys, and that's Control Option on, or Control, whatever. Command Option, which is Control Alt on PC, and that's allowing me to rotate my canvas to work here. All right, so that's my back fin. The top fin, I'm going to this other layer. Okay, and let's see, bottom fin. Chris, in case I haven't said this, I love the work you did on this.
Thanks. It was quick.
All right, and gills. Let's see. Are there two gills, or is that just me?
There's two, but go with one.
Okay. I think I'm going to add a couple more. Let's do eyes, eye, and we'll add the mouth. Add, close. All right. Shift X, by the way, is going to get me back to my normal viewing area. I like to use the Command Option, which allows me just to rotate the canvas. It's not animating it, but if you're more comfortable drawing something at an angle, as I sometimes am, that comes in handy. Okay, we're in the eyes layer. So all right, and Mr. Mouth. Okay, cool. Looks halfway decent. Shift X. Let's get back to normal. All right. Now, so I have all those done, but some of the little fun parts I do need to do is make sure I can actually fill these areas. If you notice, there's these huge gaps here. And I'll start with the back fin. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to press a quick key. I think I have my, actually I know, my shortcut keys are set to Toon Boom Harmony. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, if I go to Preferences, your shortcuts, it'll be set up right here. Usually by default, they're set at Harmony, but you can set them to Adobe Flash or Toon Boom Studio. I almost always leave my presets at Harmony. So that being said, what I want to do right now is I want to see the outlines of the layer that I'm working on. So I'm simply going to press the letter K. And if you look, you can see these little blue outlines have shown up. I'm toggling that on and off right now. And that basically allows me to see where the gaps are and things. I'm going to turn off my sketch layer. And I'm going to come down to my paint tool and go to stroke. Now, what stroke allows me to do is allows me to work and draw out things, pretty much filling up all these little gaps. So I'm going to draw those invisible lines there. So if I go to my drawing mode, I only see just the tail here. And if I want to see the rest of the fish, I can turn on the light table. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. Okay. To make sure I still have turn my outline mode on with the little blue lines there. So now I'm using my stroke mode. So I'm drawing all these little areas, which are pretty much invisible, but I'm drawing where the line should be. And that way it's going to allow me to fill these very large open gaps. All right. So the tail is done, or the back fin is done. The top fin, and I'm just going up each layer, still staying in my drawing mode. Thing I love about drawing mode is it allows me to pay attention just to the layer that I'm on. Here's our bottom fin. Now, when we get to working with the paper, just not to, I don't want to lose too much time today, but what I did was I created a seamless texture in Photoshop, and that technique still works from the earlier tutorial I actually did. Let me talk about that a little bit. All right, so the gills. The gills I'm not going to worry about because they're going to have the body. The eyes are completely set up. Don't need to worry about the mouth. Now let's go to the body layer. On the body layer, I do need to have a little bit happening there. I'm just holding down my space bar to get the hand tool to move things around. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And let's get back to our camera mode. And what I want to do at this point, this is not going to be the conversation we'll have in this particular webinar, but we're working with another Toon Boom, a new Toon Boom friend the other day, and the conversation came up to peg your drawing layers or not to peg your drawing layers. Yeah, that'll be a huge. I think I would love to do just a webinar on that with other Toon Boom, instructors and hear the pros and cons. I've always done mine without a peg. I do not know how to do them with both, but I usually have a master peg controlling everything. That being said, what I want to do at this point is set up all of my pivot points. So I'll go ahead. I'm on my body layer right now. So I'm going to go up to my advanced animation tools. And if you don't see this little area here, simply go to Windows, come down to Toolbars, and select Advanced Animation. So I'm going to grab my Rotate tool, and I'm going to set the pivot point. For the body, I guess he should be closer to around the front. Back fin, I'm going to drag this right about here. Top fin, this is going to be right at the base, about in the middle. Bottom fin, it's going to be right here, pretty much wherever I want. This is like kind of that little anchor point, wherever I want that joint to move. The gills, debates. I think I'll send you about right here. The eyes, almost always, I'm usually going to pop the eyes right dead center. And the mouth. I think I'll put that there. Okay, so I've set the pivot points, and typically, if I were going to go ahead and just paint this normally, I could go to the body layer, grab my paint tool, and let's fill this in with white. Okay, and I'm going to turn off my outlines just so you can see what this normally looks like. So you can see all the invisible lines I drew in. Just going to check some of the main ones here. See if I did a good job. Not too bad. I'll do that real quick. The back fin looks like it's covering up a lot more. Okay, and what I want to do now is just kind of make sure I'm going to place these in order. So just move the back fin beneath the body so we can see that a little bit better. So our top fin, and the bottom fin. Make sure go ahead and cover the body again. Okay, now a lot of this is starting to look weird because of how I have the layer order set up. So I do know that I think that looks pretty decent there. And everything else seems to be in order. All right. So there is the basic fish. Now for the fun part. There are some details actually left off on here. So if we go to the tail, I'm teaching a student currently who's still working with a mouse. And I am just very grateful to not work with a mouse. My next move will be working with a Cintiq. Haven't found, I've heard a lot about Cintiq knockoffs, but I haven't found one that has impressed me yet. So if anyone wants to comment on that, please feel free. But the bottom line is if you're drawing with a mouse, that's one speed. Oops, undo that real quick. Drawing on the wrong layer. If you're drawing with a mouse, that's one speed. If you're drawing with a stylus, like an Intuos or something like that, that's even faster. If you're drawing with a Cintiq, that's even faster than that. So it really helps with production. Now, if you're just starting out and you're thinking this is a hobby or you're not sure what you want to do yet, there are definitely a couple of things you can invest in just as a stylist. So you shouldn't just use a mouse, because all these nice little thick and thins that I'm getting here are just because of the pressure I'm using. Okay, now, oops, undo that. Now the cool thing about this, at any given point, if I select this color white, I can always select different colors that I think it should be. And let's go back here. And the other thing is the way that Toon Boom works, it has an awesome dynamic color system that if I decided to simply double click on the white and I decided to go, dude, you know what? Our fish isn't supposed to be white. It's supposed to be this like orange weird color. It will automatically update that. So, but get that back to white. Close that out. What we are going to do next is I want to show you. Let's jump over to Mr. Photoshop. And I'm going to open a, there you are. Okay, hold on one second. I just got a note that our chats are disabled. Let me see if I can bring that in. I'm going to open up this rice paper JPEG that I made. There you are. And let's turn off our grid for a minute. Yeah, there we are. Okay, give me one quick second. Let me jump over here to our Hangout window. I think I turned it on. And let me jump to this other little area. I think that's working. I think I turned it on. And let me jump to this other little area. Okay. All right. If I have missed that, my apologies. I think I've got it turned on now. Can jump back over here to Photoshop. Cool. I'm getting messages from Jesse. Well, I was talking about he uses the Yenova MSP 19U versus the Cintiq. Sounds cool. All right. Chris, can you still see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. Which, by the way, I am using a Mac in case anyone wants to know. I'm using a Mac Mini. It's a bottom of the line Mac Mini, so not that powerful, but it actually gets the job done for me. Anyway, I made a piece of I actually found a piece of rice paper online. Can I actually give you guys this file? No, because it's not really mine. So, but I did want to show you something. If you look really close, you can see where I've kind of stitched all the stuff together. But the cool thing is, because it's rice paper, it's not that noticeable if where I've got these little lines and everything. But there's this one little line about right there. And I think for time's sake, I'm probably going to do I'll probably do a separate tutorial on exactly how I do a seamless pattern here. But do you have to use a seamless pattern? No, I think it actually helps things look a lot better if you do. Also, the size that I'm using about a 600 by 600 pixel, and that's based on the fact that I didn't want people to notice any repeating patterns. If you're working on something, let's say whether it's, I think we're working at 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080. And if you're working on something, let's say 4K, you might want to get it, or pretty much make it much larger than that. So save that out as a JPEG. I go back over here to Harmony. I have not saved lately. I'm going to save a version here. Which, by the way, I love the new in Toon Boom that you can do save as a new version. Let's do texture. Okay, so what I want to do at this point is in my color area, I'm going to click to add a texture. And I will find the texture I want to bring in. Okay, so there is the rice paper tile. And what I'm going to try to do at this point, as soon as my computer agrees with me, I have to make sure I'm on the right layer. I'm going to select the white just of the body. And there's a little translucent blue. And if I click on the paper tile, boom. There's our tile, and our little rice paper. We go to the back fin. Make sure I'm selecting the white. Okay. Same for the bottom. Ah, perfect. Now, if you look at the body, and you can see these really large lines there. If you look down here, all the stuff is microscopic almost. Dude, that is not what we want. We'll have to fix that, but that'll come in a little bit. All right, so gills and the eyes, nothing there. Ah, top fin, that's what I needed. Okay, and yeah, even that top one looks a little weird. So what I can do, I'm gonna come in here, and I think I do want to add in just a few more strokes. Let's see if we can do this on top of our texture. Going to rotate our canvas just a little bit. All right, and so this is wrong shortcut key. This is drawing directly on top of the rice paper. If we go to drawing mode, you can see that as well. Do Shift X. Make. Words. Hold on my space bar to get this guy up there. All right. So now the beauty of this is the beauty of this is, again, I used a much larger piece of rice paper, so you can see some really cool effects happening there. You can control the scale and even how things are lined out. Is that a line? I see the big line right there. So there's a crease in my fish. Let's see. All right. So the one thing I want to take a look at, the little bottom fin here. The back fin looks okay. I want it to look kind of consistent here. So let's go to that particular layer. And Tony needs to stop using a paintbrush. And what I want to do is go to my contour editor and come down to edit gradient / texture. So if you're using a gradient in any of your work or even a texture, you can use this particular tool. And this does look a little bit different in Harmony Essentials, but it does work the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this area real quick. So you can see a lot better that, yeah, we've got these really nice pieces here. I'm going to click on the back fin, and all of a sudden we see this little square. So if I click and drag, you can start to see it getting a little bit larger. You can see the little elements in the rice paper getting larger there. That looks about right. And beyond that, I can even rotate that. Again, this is rice paper, so it's not that bad. If we're doing, let's say, something like your character might have a plaid shirt or something like that, that's where it gets interesting. Okay, that looks about right. Let's see. I think we're going to do the top fin. Hey, Chris, do you think the tail is okay, or do I need to bring that up a little bit?
It looks fine.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to do the top fin. Now the cool part is right now this is sitting totally still, and it's not that big of a deal. It just looks like we've drawn something on top of some rice paper. Once this is animated, it's going to look even cooler. So let's go to the top fin, and again using our little tool here. I'm going to zoom out. Just using my scroll wheel on my mouse. By the way, Chris and I work a lot. Chris uses a PC, I use a Mac, and we kick files back and forth all the time. The really awesome thing about Harmony 12, what they did was you got Harmony Essentials, Harmony Advanced, and Harmony Premium. You can actually open up something that was created in Harmony Premium. You can open it up in Harmony Essentials, which is the bottom of the line version of Harmony. And unless, let's say, if you use some of the tools that aren't available, you can't really go in and edit them, but you can still open up and look at the file. It's kind of cool. So let's see. I think I want to make that a little bit larger. Okay, cool. All right, so that is done. So that is our little textured fish. All right, what do we have? About 24 frames a second. Okay. Oh, also, question, big question, or we're doing, again, a lot of exchanges with one of our new buddies. Hopefully we'll get to interview him later. I'm being secretive for a reason. Let's see, bottom fin. But the other thing we're discussing is whether or not to have on your animate key or your animate button. Me, normally when I'm building, I do not have that on. I turn it on only when I'm starting to animate. But I've started to work with a bunch of people recently where they always keep theirs on. So if you're questioning that tomato or tomato, do you keep it on or off? I would say it depends. So a lot of people I work with are animators, and so they're used to getting a rig that's already set up, and so they never turn that animate button off. I'm used to rigging as well as animating, so I just I'm turning mine on and off depending on what I'm doing. All right. That being said, I do want to get ready to start animating something. Let's see, we got the mouth, the eyes. Technically, do I want to parent anything? Not really. If this were if this were like arms and legs, that'd be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do at this point is I've got my hierarchy set up the way I want it to be, but I am going to create a master peg for the whole body eventually. So what I want to do at this point, got all this. Let's go ahead and do a save, Command S. Save often because computers can crash. So I'm going to go out to, let's go out to the end of our thing for now. Let's go to 60. We'll do F5 to extend our exposure. By the way, if anyone's curious, I have I have a program called Mouse Pose, which is what's showing my key commands. That is a Mac thing. There are probably PC equivalents. I have no idea what they are. I do know how to use a PC. I just tend to use a Mac. Okay. So what I want to do now, so I think I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to go ahead and set up a peg here. And if you ever try to set up a peg and it doesn't actually work, I would basically suggest selecting a layer and then trying to do a peg. Oh yeah, which reminds me of another thing. I typically work on a timeline. I do a lot of my work and a lot of my tutorials in Harmony Essentials. So I'm not normally in the node view. So right now, even though I'm in Harmony Premium, I'm actually not rigging this in the node view. I'm just doing it on the timeline. Fish. What kind of fish is it? I don't know. All right, so I'm going to grab the rest of my layers here and make sure that's part of our little peg there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn on my Animate button. I'm going to drop in a keyframe at frame 1. Let's do F6. And we're at about 24 frames a second. So, I think I'm going to space this out to maybe frame 30. We'll do F6 again. And somewhere in between here, I'm going to change what's happening as far as movement. So basically what I wanted to do is set up a keyframe at the beginning, meaning this is the way I want the fish to look, and then I want the fish to look that way again at frame 30. So somewhere about in the middle, what I want to do is give our fish a little bit of movement. So I'm going to grab my transform tool. Just click on Mr. Fin here. And just a little bit of squash, and maybe even rotate that down a bit. Like, thank you. And the tail, again, I'm going to bring that in a little bit. Rotate that a bit. Now, I'm not doing any tweens yet. I'm just looking at this little hard movement. Where's Mr. Gill? There you are. Now, you can start to see exactly why I set my pivot points where I set them. Let's bring Mr. Gill in a little bit. All right. So that is set. And what I'll do now is simply, I don't have any of my automatic tweens happening right now. So to do that, I can simply do a quick key command of Command K. And that's going to go ahead and do the tween for me. And let's do Command K here as well. All right. So I'm going to drag a little stop point just to see exactly what's going on here. If I can get this little black arrow. Quit being difficult. All right, fine. Thank you. So this isn't actually, I'm just kind of temporarily bring this little black line in here, this little black triangle, which technically I could have just typed it in there. Just to see what this is going to look like, I'm going to turn on my loop, hit play. All right, not bad. Gills are bothering me because they're moving at the same speed as everything else. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, open this up. Let's go to the gills. And what I want to do here is I'm going to double the speed pretty much. I'm going to copy this middle guy, copy, go to about frame, I don't know, 10, paste, and go to about frame 23 or so, paste again. And then the very beginning, which is way a little more out, I'll copy that beginning and replace the middle one. So pretty much what I did was, this is a long version, this is short at about frame 9. Then by frame 16, it's long again, short, and long again. So if I play this, okay, not too bad. So I'll go ahead and collapse this. Make our end at about 60. What time do we have? 48. Okay. So what I'll do at this point, I'm going to copy all of our animation. What is that dot? Where are you, Mr. Dot? It's kind of bugging me. Okay. So you are with the mouth. Let's get rid of you. Thank you. Okay. So what I want to do now is I'll collapse my peg and I'll copy all of these keyframes. Let's do Command C, Control C on PC. And I will paste these here. So we have that full animation going all those 60 frames there. Technically, I'm actually doing a nasty loop, but that's another story. What I want to do at this point, though, all right, what I want to do at this point is I'm going to put this peg into another peg. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can actually move this from one side of the screen to the other, or even do things like scaling and stuff like that. All right, so, so what I want to do now, I think I'm okay with where this pivot is. Technically, let's do this. The pivot for this peg, I think I want it to be closer to the head, because normally fish kind of lead with their heads, I guess. So, So go to the transform tool and making sure my animate button is on, I'm going to move Mr. Fish to one side of the screen. And then in theory, let's say by 60, maybe he gets to the middle. Oh yeah, duh. And we'll definitely set that up to, let's do Command K to do our tween. Let's hold that thought once more. Okay, make sure we still have our movement. We lost part of that when we did our animation, so I need to make sure I got that back. Seriously, dude? All right, give me one quick moment. Chris, I bet you're enjoying this.
I have no enjoyment watching your pain.
So in theory, we should have still had a little moving fish here. And somebody decided to stop moving. All right, so let's grab, yes, cannot add a peg. Yes, we know that. Let's do one anyway. Close that. Add a peg. All right, so we should still have movement. We do. Looks good. Let's drop in a keyframe at the beginning. Do we still have movement? We do. Let's go up to our animation tools and we'll turn off our stop motion keyframes. And we're testing this again. This is always fun whenever you actually run into an issue like I just did, because I'm going, that should have worked. Why didn't it work? You recreate it as simply as possible. Okay, that's better. Now if you notice, the only thing I did was moved it from here to here. Not a large move, but my animation started working. So now I'm going to try something bigger, a little bit broader. So I'll move the initial one back. Thank you, dude. What was up with you the first time? Okay. So now that we have that working, let's see if we can complicate this a little more. Just bring you down. Maybe scale you a little bit. All right, so play. All right. Not a very lively fish, but that is the fun part about knowing people who know how to animate better than me is I'll go, dude, here's a fish rig. Go play with it. Make it move. Make it awesome. So now we actually have our animated fish. As a matter of fact, let's bring this up to 100%. If you look, the texture is here. It looks pretty decent. And you can still get away with not having a seamless texture because some of my seams are still visible here. It really depends on what you're using. Excuse me. I think we're out of time for it today, but if, like for instance, if you're doing something like felt or construction paper, aka giving it a I don't know, a more cutout paper look, a la South Park or something like that. You can get away with things. Now, if you're doing a pattern like plaids or polka dots, that's where it gets interesting if you don't have your seam corrected. Now that Mr. Fishy is done, I do want to talk about another really cool thing you can do with textures and bitmaps. This is something I came across kind of by accident, and it's like really, really cool. I'm going to make a new layer here. Let's get rid of Mr. Fishy. Turn off Mr. Animate. Okay, we're just going to call these, I don't know, pencil. Now, again, what I'm about to do is it works in Harmony Advanced and Harmony Premium. These options are not available in Essentials. So, dude, where's my pencil? Ah, there it is. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to show you the pencil tool here, and this interesting little brush. And I want to show you how I got that brush. Go over here to Photoshop. Can you do this in GIMP? Probably. Anything that can save out a PNG file. Let's see. Words. Dude, learn your quick keys. Why are you not working? Thank you. All right. So this is the file I made. And I made, let's see, the image size is 72 dpi. 300 by 70 is the size I used. I have seen them smaller than that, but for all intents and purposes, that's what I'm using now. And I'm doing a kind of a bad Tony thing to do. I keep just selecting all, deleting what's there, and I'll make a new brush. So I'm going to grab my pencil tool. I find this works better, I think, if it's like hard lines versus like the little blurred lines, even though you can use that. And what I want to do, select all, delete. I'm just going to draw a nice little weird line here. It goes from one side to the other. And for all intents and purposes, I'm going to, all intents and purposes. I think that's all right. Anyway, just going to make this little weird stitch looking thing. And I'll go to File, Save for Web, and transparency, yes, PNG 24. So I'll save that. And I've been making a lot of pencils today. This will be pencil number 4. By the way, I would suggest having a better name than pencil number 4, but that's just me. If I jump over here to Harmony Premium, and in my pencils, I can click this little area to show the extended properties. And you can adjust the size and the smoothness and what endpoints you have. But here's the fun part. Go to Texture. And there's all these different things that are there. And this is how I learned this. I actually found where these files were, and I found like what size they were using. So I'm going to add a new texture. Pencil number 4. And I'll select that. All right. And all of this is actually temporary because I haven't actually made a permanent brush yet, but I do have that texture available. So I'm going to select all, delete. I'm going to simply draw something out with my new pencil. Now, I haven't let up off of my stylus yet, so it looks plain until you let go. Dude, what is up with that? This is becoming fun. Really? Let's check that one more time. Hello, computer. Oh, did I do a Command Z somewhere? Where'd that texture go? All right, let's add that texture once more. I was wondering why that went away. Okay, that's the texture we want. We'll close it out. Okay, that's better. So basically, when you're drawing this out, you won't see anything until you let go. And then you see the brush you created. And you can have a lot of fun with this. Let's see. This is one of my favorites. Exercise in Vanity. Let's see. And this is me not using the, I think this is the brush, and you can see the difference. It looks a little bit blurry around the edges. But if you want to have that nice sharp line, you use like the pencil tool. So those are different tricks you can actually do with that. Hope that makes sense. All righty. And I believe that is about time. So yes, we have made a little texture, or brought in a little texture from Photoshop with rice paper. Depending on what you're using, what type of texture you're using, you probably should always have something that's kind of seamless. And typically, I think this is about 600 by 600, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 600 by 600. And I did that because I'm normally working at 720p or 1280 by 720. If I were working at 1080, I would have probably done this maybe double that size. But I made this little squared, but you want to have something that usually you want something that you can actually tile. And there's plenty of things online you can look for tileable textures, and saved that out as a JPEG and imported that. And I think that's about it. Where did Mr. Fishy go? Oh yeah, there you are. So yeah, whenever you're working with bitmaps, you definitely want to make sure you've got let's give myself a color card here. You definitely want to make sure you aren't doing anything that is going to look pixelated. Because of course the vectors, Toon Boom being a vector-based program, those are going to actually print out or show up very smooth. But if you've got an image, a raster image that's a little bit too small, you're going to get some pixels showing, and you don't want that. Okay, let me change my color card here. Little background. Let's put Mr. Fishy in the water or some junk. Okay, that's cool. All right. Let's see. Can you go to 100? Nah, maybe not 100. Fit to view. And I'm going to render that. Well, not render. I'll click at the render view to see what this looks like. And there is what the final version of Mr. Fishy looks like. All right. And that is our webinar for the day. Um, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's going to be another event coming up. Actually, it's going to be yike, a YouTube event coming up. Yes, I have a lot of tabs open. Words, words, words. There's going to be a Toon Boom webinar, which I'll be doing a full bitmap character and rigging it. Because this is just bitmap or texture fills, but we're going to be building a character or working with a character that's coming out of Photoshop with layers, and how do you go about that and make it look decent and all that fun stuff. Let's see. Chris, are you with me?
I am.
Coolness. So yeah, check out our YouTube channel, yada yada yada, which is youtube.com/user/TonyTeach, or just youtube.com/TonyTeach. You can get to it pretty easy. We're always putting some things up, and feel free to ask questions. A lot of times people ask questions. If they're simple questions, I can answer them just writing them out. And if not, it may be a little more complex question, which those do turn into tutorials a lot of times. And I'll go, hey, someone had a question, because I feel 9 times out of 10, it's not just that person that has a question, but other people may as well. So letting you know. And if you haven't caught it already, we still have our character camper and anatomy of a 30-second short. Volume 3 is still on sale. And if you go to sellfi.com/TonyTeach, we have several things that are there. A couple of them are actually free. I think we saw our little pepper guy. But anatomy of a 30-second short, you can still catch that on sale. And a couple things you can catch for free, like our little bone deformer character, which is the pepper. We'll probably be doing more characters like that in the future. We're just going to figure out what they're going to look like in some junk. But anyway, were there any? Get out of my Facebook. Okay, were there any other questions? Let's see. Hangouts. Okay, make sure I'm answering this correctly. Are you using a Cintiq or? I'd mentioned this before. Would I say a Cintiq saves a lot of time? Yes. Basically, I know that when I was teaching some courses at some weekend courses I was teaching at SCAD, I would always request that I could use the Cintiq lab, because imagine, I think one of the first things I would always teach people in animation, it'll be like, okay, this is how we're going to do the wiggling text of our name. Imagine trying to write out your name in Toon Boom or even Photoshop, writing out your name using a mouse versus drawing directly on the screen. That is the best example I can give of how fast it is. Cintiqs really save you a lot of time. Chris uses a Cintiq. Actually, you use a Cintiq as well as a Cintiq companion.
That's correct.
Okay, yeah. And he does a lot of stuff. Normally, not only is one of those, he actually draws better than me, but definitely he's always using the Cintiq, which actually helps a bit. So you check with Jesse was shooting me things on my phone, making sure I'm getting this. Haven't missed anything. Coolness. All right, so yeah, this is. We have other. If you have other ideas for a webinar, let us know. We may or may not. If you saw the icon of what is that? I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in a second here. I've been toying around with an idea of something for a while because I didn't know if anyone would be interested, but I think it would be fun. There's this little cartoon on TV called South Park, and they use Maya, believe it or not. It's a 3D program to actually do their work. But I had this idea one time. I was like, well, what if we redid South Park and just used uh, like a Toon Boom product? Could we actually do that? Which I think you definitely could. Um, and playing around with textures and stuff like that, you can do something like that. So I may or may not be doing. Um, I know it'll. I don't think it'll be like a full blown couple of hour tutorial or like a premium tutorial. It may be like a webinar. It may just be a short tutorial. I don't know. If you're following me on Twitter or if you're following me on Facebook, Twitter, any social media, or if you can find my email somewhere, um, shoot me a note. I'll be probably reaching out and asking people via a poll and going, hey, would you guys be cool if we did that? Or are you thinking, dude, everyone knows how to do that. We're not interested. Do something else. So one way or the other. Anyway, this has been Tony Ross for TonyTeach.com. If I missed any of your questions, I'm going to see if I can locate them, or you can always shoot me an email. Let's see, you can email me at tony@tonyteach.com. And if you have any specific questions about the webinar or Google Hangout, actually, there is a difference. So let me know and I'll see if I can answer those and just I'll put out a YouTube video. Anyway, keep it simple, make it perfect. If you don't have time to make it perfect, rethink the idea. Have a good one.